you've helped clients acquire 6 to 7 properties within 10 years ready for their retirement. What actually makes that possible? What's the structure that makes that possible?
Learning. If you've got equity, it's just using equity to its best effect. It's literally just making the phone call and coming in and learning for half to one day, normally 4 to 5 hours. We teach how to set up the portfolio, how to get started. That's just learning how to get started, whether it's your first property, what the minimum deposit is you need, or the ideal amount of property you can buy while keeping some cash reserve as a buffer. Or if you do already have equity in property, it's about using that effectively and learning that you don't actually need any cash when you've got equity. You can borrow the whole purchase price plus the costs, plus you can borrow more as a buffer. You'll hear us talk about buffer a lot. When you have this cash reserve buffer, it's a bit like an overdraft for a business.
Yes.
That is one of your best risk mitigation tools, to have the ideal amount of cash reserve. You can sit that in these things called offset accounts that save interest on the loan, don't cost interest. You can put the rent into them, have loan repayments come out, and then that really reassures people when they see that they can buy property in high yield markets where it's usually about neutral cash flow to positive for the first 10 years, sometimes a little bit negative in the first few years. But yeah, it's just learning how the cash flow works, how you use equity, then how you grow equity, and then use that equity to buy more property.
One of the things that I've heard a couple of guys that do a lot of content around real estate say is that you shouldn't own your home where you live. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's the concept called rent vesting. It's rent where you want to live, the ideal house that fits your budget at the time, then investing where is going to make a lot more money. I do it. I've done it my whole life. I've only lived in what I owned for about 2 or 3 years. It was probably that second property I bought in Sydney. But yeah, you will make far more money if you do that. Doesn't mean owning your home is bad, but if you buy your home at the top of the cycle, you could sit there and get no growth for 7 to 15 years. That is an enormous risk. That is 7 to 15 years of your financial life gone. All we say is at the start of the boom, if that's where you live, there's not an enormous difference whether you buy a home or invest, as long as you're at the start of the boom. If you're not in the start or in the first third of the boom, it's literally many millions of dollars of difference in what you can make by rent vesting and then renting where you want to live. At the moment, when we say Sydney has a 2.7% yield, that means that's the rent you have to pay if you rent something. Interest rates are about 6%. If you own it, it's costing you 6 plus principal plus all the costs. Where I live, it would cost me about 3 times more than the rent to own it, whereas I'm getting 6 to 8% rental return, sometimes at 11 and 12 with some of our properties, but I'm paying 2.7. Like I said before, the yield is high at the start of the boom. So when you're buying those markets where rent is high, you're going to get more growth as well, almost always. Where the rent is low, there's almost certainly going to be lower capital growth. Why own it?
Yeah, this is great. That's awesome.
The other thing we say is you can rarely buy your ideal home as your first property, your dream home. Not many people can do that, can they? What is the fastest path to get to your dream home? Renting while you're investing. You'll get to your dream home 5 to 10 years faster with less debt. It's opportunity cost and lazy equity.
Going back to the dream, the Australian dream, own your own home, pay it off, own your house outright. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to say financial suicide, but it is the biggest risk in any investment, but especially property, is lost opportunity. And then lazy equity. As soon as you have 25 to 30% equity, that is almost always enough to buy a cheap investment property. The fastest way to pay off your home is actually to get more debt for an investment property, as long as you can do it safely. The growth in that property, if it's in a good market, will pay off your home usually in 4 to 8 years. Don't wait till you pay your own home off, or if it is paid off, or you've got a lot of equity, learn how to use that equity. You can't retire on your home. You need assets and you need income to live off. Literally the ideal time to start investing, when you got your first investment property, the ideal time to buy your second property, whether your first is an investment or your home, is when you got 25 to 35% equity while getting them another property. Because we'll refinance their home, we'll reduce their home loan rates, get a bit of a buffer for them. If there's a car loan or a credit card or something, borrow enough to pay that off and then use the equity to buy a neutral to positive cash flow property. You'll pay your home loan off and get to financial independence and financial freedom 10 to 20 years sooner than just making extra payments to your home. You just think about it, when you make extra payments to your home, what is it saving you and making you? It's 6% roughly, whatever the average interest rate is roughly 6%. When you put a 10 to 20% deposit using equity in your home into an investment property, if it grows at 10 to 20%, you're doubling your equity. Even you're getting half that growth, you're getting 5 to 10% growth on a 10 to 20% deposit, it's doubling your equity every 2 years. That's a 50 to 100% return on investment. Do you want 6 by paying your home loan off, or do you want 50 to 100? Difference is staggering.
When you think about that, it's all about just education, like having the confidence to know which direction to go in.